And now,
Good morning. It's June 1st, and today actually CBON magazine it's celebrating its first anniversary. Yay! I'm so excited for that. So a year ago, we came on the market trying to inspire teens, young minds, and young at heart adults. Well, besides contributing to this new generation and trying to help them out see beyond temporary setbacks, we started this year the Experts Corner. And today I have the pleasure of having with us Darren Becket, who has been contributing for CBON magazine for a year now. He was also the MC for the official launch of the magazine on December 10th, 2016. And more than that, Darren was my student at West High School. So he definitely represents and embodies what CBON magazine is all about. So good morning, Darren.
good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Aura. It's a pleasure to be here on Memorial Day morning. And we're having a little bit of gloomy weather, but at the same time, just super excited to have a little chat, like a little morning chat. How great.
Exactly. So Darren, you call yourself a wellness curator. So how would you define that term for the ones who are not familiar with it?
Sure. So we live in this cool age where we can kind of define ourselves by what we want. And so my expertise has been in communication, movement therapy, injury rehabilitation, massage therapy, nutrition, meditation, mindset, and such. And so I coined this term wellness curator as a way of helping people to kind of get a holistic view of their life, and then to plug in what kind of wellness is going to be appropriate for that particular individual, and what kind of solutions can we create for the challenges in that person's life or business. It could be a corporation, it could be an organization, as well as the individual. So for me, being a wellness curator is about offering people the best solutions at all times, and specifically and mostly about wellness, but that term can be broadened into so many other things.
So of course we know that somehow deep in our soul, we know how to curate ourselves, how to cure ourselves. But not everybody knows how to unless we become aware of that movement. So you graduated from high school. You went off to college. When did you decide? When did you figure out this is what I want to do? Very many times people go in their lives, with their lives, not really knowing what they're going to do, what's their passion, what they would love to explore. When did you figure this one out?
Well, I think like most people who find a deep passion for something they enjoy, there's usually a trigger, some sort of either trauma or big experience that kind of pivots them in a different direction. And so for me, that was, I don't know if you remember, but when I left high school, I looked fairly different. I was 200
Absolutely.
pounds. Yeah. And I was...
You are curvaceous.
Yes. But more importantly, because the weight part really didn't, it's how I felt about it, right? So I didn't like the way I was showing up with my friends. I didn't like the way I was showing up on the baseball field. I just didn't really enjoy being in my body. And so I was really uncomfortable with being present in the world. And that uncomfortability really drove me to figure out, okay, I can either spend the rest of my life uncomfortable, but I like being around people. I like being on the baseball field. I like doing the public speaking. I like engaging with people. And I kind of found that, and of course this is over time, but when I went to college, I was playing baseball. I was working out every morning. I was really dedicated to my fitness. Yeah. More importantly, I was super dedicated about changing, and a little bit selfishly, like changing from the inside. So I started just paying attention more to how I was showing up in my relationships, and making just very minute, small changes and then experimenting with them. And certainly at that time, I didn't know the process, but I knew that what I wanted was to be a different person. I wanted to show up differently. And so I got my degree in conflict mediation and organizational communication, which is a long way of saying I learned how to build rapport with other people, and to be more comfortable in communicating and be more comfortable in working with the body. So when I left Pepperdine University, I had stopped playing baseball at that time, and I kind of thought, well, what do I want to do next? And what I really enjoyed doing was working with people and kind of getting them out of their comfort zone in healthy ways, because that's what I like doing for myself. How can I go into that really uncomfortable business meeting or that really uncomfortable date, and how do I just be comfortable enough to just show up in my most authentic self? And certainly that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And so that's where I kind of started this passion for not only working on myself, but using the same tools that I learned to apply them to other people. So it started with fitness. I was really excited about learning all the biomechanics and how do we, what's a bicep curl and how do we do the chest, and kind of the more manly version of it, what it started with. And then that quickly turned into how do we make real change? Because I got this really beautiful chance after college to work with Olympic athletes and actors and actresses on set and large, very influential people who wanted to look like either the professional athlete, or the professional athlete needed to get 2 or 3 seconds chopped off of their sprinting time or something. And so when we're working with this peak performance individual, which is really who we all are on the inside, we're all, we just don't really fit into that potential sometimes. But for someone who it's their job to perform at the highest level all the time, what I noticed is that it wasn't really about the fitness training. It wasn't really about the nutrition. It wasn't even about maybe the mindset as much as it was about being comfortable just doing the hard thing. And so how do we show up? I ask myself these questions. How do I show up to those spaces in the most aligned way? And so that's when all that other stuff, the fitness, the nutrition, the meditation, the body work, that's where all that stuff fits in. And so I kind of fell in love with this idea of how do we harmonize back to our highest version of ourselves? And the scientific kind of term for that is homeostasis. So how do we come back to homeostasis, and how do we manage our process of daily activity, relationships, family, intimacy, business? It kind of gets all swirled up. And so how do we come back, and then how do we move forward? The Harvard Business Review came out with a really brilliant article the other day, and the article title was that resilience is not about pushing through. Resilience is about how do you charge up. So we have this very masculine Western, and certainly you can find this all over the world, where we have to push through, like if for instance, a mother who's got, activities to do with her kids after work and drive them to baseball practice and to go get food and to tuck the kids in and do all this other stuff and then her own personal stuff. We tend to have this mentality like we need to put on armor, like we need to just like keep doing and go, 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 go. And then we get burnt out, and then we think something's wrong with us. And so at that point, we develop poor belief systems about our potential. Like, I'm not capable of doing this many tasks because I know that I'm just going to get burnt out later. And the reality is, it's not really about needing to get to that point of burnout. It's about knowing when you need to recharge, and then knowing what tools to apply to recharge. Because for some people, it may be like, for me, meditation is my go-to recharge. But for other people, it may be, I need to go swimming, or I need to I know people who are like, I need to drive. I know it sounds weird, but for some people, they're like, I need to get in a car. And maybe it's you, I need to get in my car and drive around Palos Verdes, right? that really offers us a chance sometimes to just not just clear our head, but clear our space. So I often say that if we want to be successful in life, we need to figure out ways to have more time, more energy, and more potential or space, right?
Right.
So and really the way to have potential and then get to that potential is art. So most people who are watching this may not think of fitness as art, but it is. You're creating a body, you're creating a mind by doing your psychotherapy or your meditations, or you're clearing belief systems about maybe things that have prevented you from succeeding in areas that you know you're supposed to be successful in.
You said about finding a space, right, where you're going to recharge. How do you find that space, considering that we live in a very, very multitasking world where we are detracted from our normal path? We are trying to start something, and then all of a sudden you're bombarded by tons of text messages and emails and people demanding more of you. How do you really find that space where you are going to be you? And I think the hardest thing is to leave somebody in a dark room to be with himself, because people don't know how to be with themselves. So how do you find that space?
Well, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a paradox, right? Because if I say, just find the space, you're lost.
I'm surrounded by space. Where do I find it?
Yeah. I guess the best way to describe it is through story, because story allows us to apply things to our own lives in the most productive way. And so I was actually walking with a client the other day, and she was voicing that she didn't have the space. She's like, if I just had 2 weeks to just do nothing, I'd be good. And I said, but that's unrealistic. You're never going to find 2 weeks. I mean, you may, but you tell me right now, do you have 2 weeks to just relax? She's like, no, hell no, I don't have time for that. I go, great. So then why are you even projecting into the idea that that's a possibility? I think what we do is we try and make things really gargantuan. So when you say, how do we find space? I didn't say that you needed to find a green field in the middle of Iowa to relax. I didn't say that you needed to go into a dark room. I just said you need to find space. So I think at that point, we have to start utilizing the creative part of our brain, which says, well, I have headphones that have noise canceling. I live next to the mountains. Surely there's a tree that I can find that has minimal noise near it. And even in that, the noise can sometimes be helpful, because we live, and it's just normal. We live in a world with cars. We live in a world with other people talking. So I would say to find the first step in finding space for yourself is find your breath. So yeah, and it sounds really simple, but if we just pay attention to a full breath, and that's the beginning. So then once you start to breathe into your body, then the next thing that happens is the mental process, the hamster wheel that's churning.
Yeah.
It starts to slow down. Sometimes it speeds up.
Right.
But either way, it's getting to a point where you're observing your thoughts and not attaching anything to them, right? So it's like in the morning, like this morning, I woke up maybe an hour ago, and there's a lot happening this week, and I'm running a program next week and doing some webinars and such. And so there's a lot going through my head, but I know that I can't accomplish anything to the highest degree unless I literally shut up my mind and come into my body. And so there's a few ways to go about doing that. One is, finding the space, but two is to move your body. So dance, yoga, qigong, maybe it's a fitness activity where you tell yourself, I'm not going to think about anything for whether it's 20 seconds, 3 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you have time to do. And then forgive yourself for not maybe having an hour, or maybe not having 30 minutes and only having 20 seconds. And I think at that point, what happens is people start to talk to themselves. And so I think then the next process is like a muscle in your body, you have to train yourself to get that space. So for people just starting, it can be effective to just take 20 seconds out of their day, maybe 2 or 3 times, to just take some big breaths. And, you know, if they stick with it, and obviously working with someone like me, who's a coach in that field,
Absolutely.
we can help you to get to a higher degree of space. Does that make sense?
Well, absolutely, because I believe that whenever you're going to give guidance to people, you're always going to hear the excuse, but I don't have the time, I don't have the space. And I think that Franklin, Edison, they had the same amount of hours in a day, 24 hours, and they still found time to come up with new inventions for themselves, but to help the humanity, to help the whole world. And it so happens that we don't find the time. And like you said, I mean, I love that. It's just breathing. We are social beings, and I think it's more turn into social doings than beings. So we're not there in the moment. We're just trying to please everybody else and not please ourselves. And some narcissistic, but it's not like that.
Yeah, and we forget that the part of our brain that is the doing is only about 8%. Mm-hmm. So you've got 92% of being in yourself, and we're only utilizing you know, most people are only utilizing the 8%. So it's kind of like telling people, you know, on your computer you have random allocated memory, and then you have hard drive. And so the random allocation, if you do too many applications at once, too many tabs on your web browser, the computer's like, we can't do this. So that's what happens. And so through these techniques like meditation or engaging with good conversation, good environment, whether it's you're engaging with nature, good friends, family, whatever that clean feedback loop is, that is almost clearing out the random allocated memory so that the conscious brain can have breath to receive. And then the conscious side, which already has most of the answers, is going to show up. And it's kind of like a bubble coming from underneath the ocean. It kind of just surfaces. And then we have these epiphanies. We have these aha. And sometimes the aha moment is like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going over here. And you just do it. And I'd say the second part of why this is such a difficult process is we have other people. So you said humans are social beings. And so we ask others for their opinion. We ask others to, you know, look at our process or show up in our world. And, you know, let's talk about what happened last night. And you know, oh, I had this situation at work and this is XYZ that happened. And this is what the problem was. And then the other person is giving their advice or their opinion. But often that opinion is not neutral. So we've become really bad listeners, both for ourselves and others. And so we kind of just, instead of listening and offering someone a clean space, we just voice our opinion. We tell people what we think. And that's usually not as helpful as just shutting up and listening to the other person. I hear what you're saying. I appreciate that you're talking to me about this. I'm sending you tons of love as you experience this trauma. I think that is something that's going to help us to have more space. Is we feel like, you know, I often tell my clients, there's 2 ways to process the information in your world. You can either do it with other people, you know, and hopefully you're doing it with people that are more neutral and are able to listen. And the other way, if this isn't a solution, is to meditate. And then the meditation becomes a feedback loop with yourself. The meditation part is more difficult because you're talking to yourself. So you have to be okay with telling yourself, you didn't really like the way you showed up there. Can you do something different? Or maybe, wow, it's so interesting. I'm feeling these emotions come up inside me. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling shame. Well, yeah, okay, great. And then what are you going to do with it? Oh, I'm going to breathe into that shame. And I'm maybe going to, you know, do some kinesiology and clear the past belief system. And so often that's part of what I'm doing as well, is giving people the tools and also intuitively showing them maybe parts of themselves that is blocking them from the success
Right.
we want to see, but it's just difficult to see by ourselves, which is why we need each other. It's a paradox. Yeah.
So we need to be social beings as well while we are social doings, right? So we need to combine those two. It's a fusion of the two.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of going from one direction to the next.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You talked about different programs that you're offering. So if people are at loss of words or actions, they really don't know where to turn and they need you, where would they find you? What kind of tools are you going to provide for them?
Yeah, wonderful. So really exciting time in my life. I am producing several projects, and one of them is a 6-week energy mastery program. That actually starts in a few days. So June 4th, I'm launching a 6-week course into how to have more energy, more happiness, more success
Love that.
in your life. And it's not really about information, although we're going to go through a ton of information. It's really about providing a container of accountability, support, and we're going to be in a group of about 10 people. Have capped it out at 15. And so it's going to be a small group of people who are dedicated to upgrading their lives in all forms. And also I'm going to be doing some more webinars. So I think the day this goes out, I'll be doing a webinar. I'll be doing a webinar on Friday, a webinar on Saturday morning. And those are really just me offering to the public my work, free advice, any questions that people have around their health and wellness or psychology, or just issues that are showing up in your world that are bringing up maybe emotional feelings that you don't know how to handle, or maybe there's a relationship in your life that's just really, there's a lot of tension and you can't find clarity, or it's, what am I going to do in my career? I think one thing that is very prevalent in our world is indecision. There's too much information. There's too many solutions. There's not enough direction. And so we get indecisive about what do we go out with the friends tonight? Do we not? Do we
too many choices?
Yeah, exactly. And so my goal throughout all of this public kind of speaking engagements in my program and my one-on-one work is really to offer people really big solutions in the moment. So that's what I'm doing. And then also I work with people one-on-one. I do, I'm not doing as much of the individual services anymore. Certainly I can help people with injuries, and if you just want to learn how to meditate, we can do that, or you're looking for body work.
Love that.
I do that at a very high level though. So my price point is very high because of the amount of change that happens. And part of my mission is to help shift the paradigm around what massage therapy is, what fitness training is, what meditation is, how do we apply nutrition in healthy ways. So I do those services as well, but mostly helping people on a retainer basis. I call them my legacy clients, people who I work with on a weekly to daily basis to help bring either their career to a higher degree, their intimate family and personal relationships to a higher degree, or simply just to have more clarity and more focus in your life. I work with a lot of high-performing individuals. So artists, actors, athletes, entrepreneurs who are very successful, who look to upgrade their life, people who are looking to make a leap and want some support behind them.
So it's pretty much you're bringing them from that I+1 level. Whatever they thought they will accomplish, now you're going to bring them to the next level. You are the motivation to just jump, to a really high performance peak that they didn't even think they were capable of doing, pretty much.
Yeah. There's a really great quote by Lao Tzu. It says, leap and the net will appear.
Exactly.
And often the leaping part, even though, it can be very scary, and for me certainly as well, but I'm offering people the wings so that when they jump, they can soar and they can they can figure out this feeling of being more pliable, and I like to use those types of words, like more yummy in their life, have more flavor, because I feel like with all of the information that's prevalent in our world, it's easy to just latch on to someone else's success. Like, oh, wow, that person was really successful at getting their body to, you know, be at what they wanted. I want what they have. And yeah, that's great. You want what they have. But in that process of seeing what they have and then doing it on yourself, you learn,
Right.
oh, my flavor's different. So maybe it was yoga for them, Qigong for me. And that's actually something that's really prevalent in my life. I'm a Qigong guy. I love Qigong. I don't do as much traditional yoga, even though I think yoga is amazing as well. So I think it's also about just finding what our flavor is in life and then loving it. I want my clients and my friends and my family to love the flavor that they show up in.
That's awesome. So you have websites that they can check out, right? Wellnesscurator.com. Am I right?
Yeah, so it's darrenbecket.com and wellnesscuration.com.
Curation.com. Okay. And
Yeah.
any phone numbers they can reach you at, emails that, you know, they can contact you at?
Sure. So darrenbecket@me.com. Instead of giving me a phone call, what you can do is you can go on my website. There's a little button at the bottom right-hand side that says free discovery session. So you can click on that and you can schedule a phone call with me during an appropriate time for both of us. And yeah, so my website has all my information on it. It's a really great place to
start.
yeah, get in touch with me and also learn more about my work. I also offer corporate programs for those in organizations that are looking to create an onboarding process that includes health and wellness. That's another big project that I'm working on. Yeah, I find that it's really important for people who are, you know, starting a new job, especially in the millennial generation.
Of course. Oh, hello, welcome to our club, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, they really need help. All of us need help. I mean, you are there to inspire all of us there. And I mean, literally, teens, young minds, young at heart adults, whatever See Beyond Magazine literally stands for.
Yes, exactly. I think, and that's such an important point, right? So to see beyond our limitations, to see beyond our limited potential, to see beyond the fears that stop us from succeeding, to see beyond the anger that is drawing us back into past models. And you know, for me, that's also my model. So are we, you know, digging into the future too much? Are we staying in the past too much? Are we just doubtful about our potential in the moment? And so that's also part of the model that I teach as a formula that I offer people in my work that is something they can reference. And I think that's really important too, is that in my work, I want to help give people the simplest version of what's going to help them to take the next step, not the hardest version. We've done a lot of that.
I love that. Well, because your article in our May edition was What Story Will You Create? That was the title. Well, you guys, what story will you create? And if you really don't know how your story is going to unfold, Darren Becket is here to help you out. So thank you so much for being with us, Darren, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much, Aura. It's been a pleasure to be on with all of you, and I look forward to chatting with each of you in the future. Blessings.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.